KSL Outdoors. From camping in southern Utah to climbing in northern Africa, it's all here on KSL News Radio 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
All right, welcome back. It's nice to have you riding along early on this Saturday morning, and I'm so excited that...
Following along at home?
For those of you following along at home, I'm so excited that we're getting the group back together. This was a day that, we had planned a year or so ago, and it just didn't happen. Everybody's schedule sort of collided with so many other things on the calendar that we got delayed by a year.
They just were avoiding you.
But this is the Great Adventure Team. What do we call it? The Quest for the Unknown, right? This is the Quest for the Unknown group. Chris Dallin has joined us in studio. Bill Francis is here behind the camera. Barbara Riddle is back with us. And by the way, in spirit, Vaughn Jacobson is also with us. He's probably out there listening right now.
Kind of miss you, Vaughn.
Always.
Kind of miss you.
Well, okay. Miss you a lot, Vaughn.
Yeah.
Well, usually he's on the phone over here, but I'm not seeing it ringing.
Well, yeah.
Well, no, Vaughn was going to ride behind me on the motorcycle, and
yeah,
that's a sight.
I never. That's
a little lonesome now.
That might be why he decided not to go. Now that you mention it,
that just hurt.
This is the same group of crazies that decided to do 43 parks in 72 hours, and Jeff came to our rescue on that trip with a spare motorhome, and then the following year, border to border, Idaho to Arizona. So I don't know
on ATVs.
Who was it in the group that said let's expand this border to border idea? Was it Chris?
I think it was Dallin. Yeah.
Highway 89. There's a Johnny Cash song in there somewhere. We have to do it.
I think I'd run Route 66 myself, but
I agree.
But everybody's done that.
And go east to west. We're going south to north here.
You could have followed Kyle Petty a couple weeks ago.
You could have.
Next year we'll just do I-80 ocean to ocean. Okay.
No, that's too far.
In 6 days or less,
nonstop.
Yeah.
Again, that's what Petty did last week.
We don't want to do that. But this is going to be fun. Highway 89, all the way from Mexico to Canada. We'll have a broadcast coming up 2 weeks from today, as a matter of fact, from a place called Kartchner Caverns. Barbara, you know anything about Kartchner Caverns? It's a state park, right?
It's a state park. It's only 10 years old, and I'm looking forward to learning a lot more about it. They've got a great visitor center, bluffs. It's supposed to be incredibly beautiful. It's the stalagmites and stalactites, and I'm sure I just said that completely inappropriately.
No, I thought you did well.
That was right. Stalagmites might reach the ceiling someday, and stalactites hold.
Yeah, holding on. I did all right.
We have a variety of stalags.
Well, and it's down there close to Tucson, and
even closer to a little town called Benson.
We found that out, didn't we?
Yeah.
So looking forward to seeing that, and it's going to be a beautiful broadcast. I wish. You'll be able to see it on the video that's produced.
That's right.
Yeah. So as much as possible, and is it totally possible, Chris? And I guess Russ is the map guy here.
Okay, now who's here?
Huh?
Who's here?
What do you mean
during all this?
Oh, you.
Oh.
Unless you get a phone call that says, we need a new van or we need a motorcycle, and then you can get on board and come down. So Highway 89, can we stay on 89 this whole way?
Sort of.
Yes. At least the traditional route. So, yes, and then there's a Highway 89A and Highway 89B.
It's kind of like Route 66, where some of it's disappeared into freeway and some of it hasn't. It's kind of the same idea.
So the plan is to do our broadcast from Kartchner Caverns, and then we'll head down to somewhere around Nogales to get close to the border.
Yes.
We'll actually get to the border.
Well, we're going to wave at those guys.
We want to look for a place where there's no break in the fence and tag the fence. And we don't want to wave at the guys, okay?
Is it just me, or is
Play
Russ,
that disclaimer over there.
Is Russ always looking for a way to get in trouble?
I think so.
How's that trouble?
We don't need a spray can.
Did I say we needed
You
a
said tag the fence.
Tag it with your hand. Touch the fence, okay?
All right.
Jeez.
And
You
then
understood that, didn't you, Barb?
Totally. I totally.
Okay.
All I know is that we cannot let you get into Mexico because there'd be a question whether we can get you out or not.
yeah.
I'm not going to Mexico.
Truth in advertising here here, we are not going to enter into Mexico. We will be at the border.
And a little disclaimer: there's nothing wrong with going to Mexico. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah.
It's just
we don't
problems
have
can
the
happen.
time.
Problems can happen at some borders, and so some borders you have to choose yourself, talk to people, and find out what borders you want to go across and which ones you'd rather not go across.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we will then head right back up 89.
Yep.
And the first day we go where?
We go to Phoenix, just because there's so much to see and there's so many things we're doing in that first day.
Now, the great thing about Dallin is, and Vaughn's good at this too, is finding all these little hole-in-the-wall places along the way.
You got to stop at Tombstone.
Tombstone, I've heard a lot about. As a matter of fact, there's a hotel at Tombstone. Yep. There's a bed and breakfast at Tombstone. I actually considered
That's where they film all the old westerns.
Yeah.
That's where Wyatt Earp was.
Or the Tombstone.
Not on our
And the
list.
shootout of the
Hotel.
OK Corral.
But we're looking for little out-of-the-way places, not really out of the way, small haunts along the way, not too far out of the way because we got to stay on 89, where we can go and
Lost Dutchman's
shoot
Mine.
some good video with Bill, but also get some good stories along the way.
On 89.
That's right. It is a disappearing issue, and we want to make sure we want to find the greasiest spoon. We want to find the coolest spot. So if you have an idea, send us it on our Facebook page, which is KSL Outdoors Radio. We love to consider all those things, and we're really into the lesser known things because, after all, it is the quest for the unknown.
That's right.
Yeah. And the first two adventures had to be almost planned to the T for a lot of reasons.
We really did. And although we're looking for all these off-the-wall and kind of unusual places, we are hitting some of the major places that we all know and love, and that's the Grand Canyon as well as Lake Powell.
So Grand Canyon one night, Lake Powell another night. We'll blast through the Wasatch Front and make a couple of stops along the way. I know we're going to talk with Dick Andrew out at Lagoon probably.
Lagoon, yeah, we're going to go to Lagoon, and then we want to hit some greasy spoons too. So we're going to hit, I think it's Paces. And
We have to go to
Maddox
Paces
and
area.
all these cool places that you can see. So if you have a favorite, let us know. And there's a whole list. It's like a Johnny Cash song. I mean, we have national parks like Saguaro National Park and Grand Canyon and Bryce and Zions and
I've been
Teton and
everywhere,
Yellowstone
man.
and Glacier.
And you have
It'll be
banks
cool.
that were once knocked over by famous, cowboy bad guys that you want to go in and see.
Hey, we might knock over a few banks too. So
That's right.
Are you guys going to put this to song? I'm just wondering.
I think
We're
I've been
getting-
everywhere, man.
That's right.
That's the song.
That's right.
We'll work on that.
All right.
We got plenty of time in the van to work on that.
After we clear the Wasatch, then we head to Yellowstone. We're going to be in West Yellowstone.
And we're gonna walk into the $1 Million Cowboy Bar.
Oh, baby. That's a good one, too.
I'm bringing my boots. That's it.
That's right.
Especially when you come in with video rolling.
That's right.
It's going to be awesome.
to Great Falls, Montana from there, and then on up to just past Glacier National Park, and we'll do our last broadcast at a spot that, Russ, we went to a couple of years ago and couldn't wait to go back, and that is Waterton, British Columbia.
Probably one of the most beautiful places on earth.
Yeah, I think so too. And so that's the week's plan, and then there are things to do in between all of that. So we'll take a break here. We'll flush this out a little bit more, and flush might be a good term, actually. By the way, just got a text from Buddy Vaughn. He says, I'm there in spirit, out of town right now, no voice/phone. So he's listening. That's good stuff.
How does he not have a phone with Mr. Sky Call over
Yeah,
here?
you don't figure. Go figure.
I think it's on purpose.
Okay.
He needs to get away with it.
There are times when you just want to disconnect. So, this adventure rolls out 2 weeks from today, and I'm taking a break, Russ. Don't point at me. Don't look like
Just,
you're going
I
to
want to say Ham's Fork is the name of the river.
All right. Speaking of Ham's Fork, Navadomskis is on the phone, and we'll find out what Ham's Fork is all about. He's over in the Cowboy State somewhere. That when we come back with this week's Fish Bites. Don't go away.
Ooh la la, oh my, things get cooking round 5:15. Men get stupid and women roll their eyes when Tammy does a shimmy at the fish fry.
All right. right, time for some fish bites this morning, and we mentioned Navi's on the road, and I don't know, on the water yet? Have you been on the water, Navi?
Yeah, I'm looking at the river even as we speak.
And the river would be what river?
It's the Upper Green. River will find its way into Flaming Gorge in about a day.
Ah.
I thought you were on the Hams Fork this weekend.
Yeah, the Hams Fork is the Upper Green.
Okay, so that makes sense. It's funny you would be there because I was just looking at, and I posted some pictures on our Facebook page that the Division of Wildlife posted from their net surveys this past week, and holy cow, there were some big Lakers come out of there that some of the interns that were helping with the retrieval of nets got to hold these 30-pound lake trout and, give a big grin before they released them back into the water.
This is Flaming Gorge you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, that has become a big-time fishery for lake trout. In fact, those fish actually come up here in the fall, all the way up to where I am now, and I'm about 180 miles above Flaming Gorge, and they come up here and eat the kokanee. The kokanee spawn up here, and we used to catch them oodles of big ones, but now they made a law that you can't fish 2 miles below the reservoir.
Yeah, it's the Fontenelle Dam there. Yeah,
that's Fontenelle, yeah. We're over by Viva Naughton right now.
And was that just because of the crowds that gather there to float that section of the river? Why did they decide 2 miles below?
Yeah, well, they did pass a law back after 9/11 that we can't fish 380 yards or something from any dam, which really hurt a lot of fisheries. But this one, I think, had to do with they don't want the kokanee molested. But the frank truth is the Mackinaw molest the crap out of them.
Those Mackinaw. What about, isn't it also an issue with the egg beds there?
I guess. I mean, they just wanted to we don't fish. We used to fish it in November, and most of the kokanee were pretty much dead or dying.
Yeah.
And the rainbows come up, and the mac come up, and they eat the roe, and it was really good fishing. Now we have to fish 2 miles below that.
So, is this your class that's with you? What's going on?
This is our advanced guys. We got a handful of stalwarts who can't get enough.
A flotilla?
Yeah, a flotilla, even though we're not floating. The ones that are potentially divorced.
Can you explain that?
Questionable marital status.
Oh, I pick these weekends. We go fishing, and then I tell them, look, if you go to all of them, you're divorced. The ones that work out, it's going to be okay. So you got to bring home a gift and all that. I coach them. I say, buy something nice. And then they think you go fishing, and then like a Pavlovian dog, the bell rings, and I get something nice.
Are we talking about the wives here? Because if they're listening, you're not making any brownie points.
Yeah, he is.
No, look.
The Pavlovian dog, you ring the bell and they come?
Yeah, but
you buy them a nice gift?
Buying a nice gift? The wife gets the whole weekend off?
They're not. They don't. When we're gone, they don't wake up. They're like, I feel bad.
Yeah, well, for Russ, buying a nice gift means he stayed a little while longer at the Flying J.
That's right.
My wife knows all these little podunk towns all over the West, and she goes, I've got every little knick-knack from every little town. I know he has nothing left to buy.
That gas station there right below Fontenelle on the crossroads there, that's a nice little spot to buy a gift.
Oh yeah. I got me a really nice paperweight.
Yeah.
Out the parking lot. It was a rock. It was kind of cool, though.
All right. I have faltered in my duties here to keep this train on track. I'm pulling Russ's microphone out so we can give something, constructive here to fishermen that might want to go fish that part of the world, Russ. What are you expecting today, and why did you pick this spot now?
Well, it's a good spot to come up in the spring. Depends on the runoff. The runoff's always an issue, but there's a lot of big fish that come up to spawn, and also the chub spawner at the same time. And so they follow the chub up. And the reason why I like to throw flies here, I like to throw big streamers. And it's not everywhere you can throw big old streamers. I'm talking number 1s and 2s, monsters. And they come up and eat them. And that's why they're so big here, is because they gorge on those chub. And so I've got a lot of patterns that look like chub, frankly. And that's what I like to throw. And I like to swing it downriver and see them swirl and hit it, and it's just worth the drive.
So you're walking the banks today. You're not going to be on the float tubes or anything?
No, yeah. We just walk. My advanced class, we only float lakes. They're not ready for rivers yet.
All right.
The extreme guys, yeah.
So how many are with you today?
Well, I'm the first one here, so we don't know how many are going to show up. I'm thinking a dozen or so.
Well, it sounds like a fantastic day, and the weather's going to be spectacular. So you picked the right weekend for that.
Let me tell you, just a little piece of advice for those listening: never put sunscreen on your hands when you're fishing. The sunscreen makes the flies adverse to fish. It renders that fly fishless. So we use the back of our hand or a piece of cloth to put that sunscreen on. People make that mistake a lot, and we make sure not to.
That's a great tip.
It also messes up your breakfast. So I was just wondering if maybe you're lathering up as we speak.
No, we're still picking our spot here.
All right, Navi, we're going to cut you loose, but have a great day, great weekend there.
Yeah, you guys have a great trip. Oh, my gosh, I've been listening. Two things. I like that crater in Arizona. That's an awesome thing where the meteor made that big hole. And also the Cowboy Bars in Jackson.
Yeah. Why don't you meet us there at that Cowboy Bar?
Yeah, that's in Jackson, not in West. That's what I was telling you.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going through Jackson on the way to West. That's why that was part of the conversation.
Oh, well, I'll meet you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I thought you were going to be on a cruise ship somewhere.
Dang it.
Yeah, shoot. I could have gone to Jackson. Instead, I'm on a cruise ship. I see why you're disappointed.
Home so we can go to the Cowboy Bar.
Yeah, not too late to change your plans.
Yeah. See if Mama likes that. All right, Navi, have a good weekend.
All right, I miss you guys. Bye-bye.
All right, miss you too. Yeah, I can see that as part of the conversation at home. Honey, I know we booked this trip, but the guys are going to Jackson, and I want to meet them there.
What about the guys?
Cowboy Bar.
Yeah. All right, so back to our conversation here. We have a couple of minutes before we go to ABC News. 2 weeks from today, we will be live at Kartchner Caverns, and our effort really is to see as many things as we can see along the way within reason, because we do have a timetable to keep here. Nothing like the 43 parks in 72 hours, thank goodness. I think we all decided we didn't want to do anything like that again.
Still a nervous twitch.
No, we still have a schedule. I mean, we have a long ways to go in a short amount of time.
And what we didn't explain is that
Into the song,
Barbara, Chris, and Bill will be in the van. Russ and I have decided if we're going to do this border-to-border Highway 89, it'd be fun to do it on motorcycles. And so we're going to ride it on motorcycles, and we're actually going to trailer them down, thanks to Harley Davidson in Ogden.
Brent Allenbach, our good buddy.
Thanks, Brent Allenbach gave us a trailer that we can get the bikes down to the border. So
I'm just amazed.
That's what I was telling you the other day. If you can do Kyle Petty, you can do the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
No?
Not this time.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Brent. I just want to say thanks to Brent for loaning us that trailer, especially knowingly letting us put a BMW.
Well, that was one of the questions I asked.
Wait. Maybe he didn't know that.
He didn't know that?
Oh. He's just going to put different
He's on the phone, and he's decided we can't use the trailer after all.
Oh, man, I reckon.
So more details of our trip, and again, we're reaching out to you. If you have some favorite haunts along the way of Highway 89, all the way from Arizona up into Canada, we want to know about them, because
you're going to go via Texas so you can stop at Gillies?
We're not going that far down.
No.
Okay.
Hey, and they'll be able to follow us with a tracker. And so if you live along Highway 89, you can just pop out there and check us out.
All right, more on the story coming up after the news.
This is KSL News Radio 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
All right, welcome back. Hour number 2, and the final one as things start to warm up again. And here comes that sunshine we were promising, poking up over the Wasatch Mountain Range. Going to be a beautiful day for doing just about anything in the great outdoors, and it's nice that you're taking us along early this morning. Right now, we want to get back into our conversation about what's coming in the next couple of weeks for us to be on the road with the adventure team. Jeff Sorey is also back in studio with us. Russ Smith here from Sky Call. Chris Dallin is with us. Barbara Riddle and Bill Francis behind the cameras. But again, this is the same group that got together how many years ago now, guys? 3?
No, it's just 2 years ago we did border to border.
3
years.
Yeah, but we did 43 parts in 72 hours before
that. Was
that.
2010.
of course, yeah.
Okay, all right.
3 years, but with the wind chill, it feels more like 7.
Yeah.
I feel like I've known you guys my entire life.
That was an idea we weren't sure we'd accomplish, but we did. And then the following year, we said, how are we going to top that? Well, hey, look, let's go border to border on ATVs, Idaho to Arizona. We found the right people to help us with that. Our friends at Triple S, Brandon and Greg and all the guys. They helped make that happen with Polaris. And here we are for the next big adventure, and we're going to go border to border on Highway 89 from Mexico to Canada. And we have a lot of the same people to thank. I mean,
we do.
The folks at Chevron.
Chevron's been incredible. Again, Greg Hardy. And then this year we also have Budget Rental Car. Mike Taylor and his group are supporting us in this adventure.
Let me just say to them first, we're really sorry for the way that van's going to be returned.
Russ, I promise it's going to be beautiful.
Just want to get that out there.
You got the disclaimer button ready again.
Mike Taylor's been amazingly helpful and on board with us as we put this together.
Well, you know what's really interesting is Chevron and Texaco, they are so fantastic, and they wanted everyone to know that they want folks to get out and see the Western states, and it really is great. I mean, we're going to see a lot of what's great about America on one trip, and you got to get out and see what's happening in the Western United States. There's so much cool things.
There's so much history on that stretch of road, really, and we plan on, and again, I'll use this term, flushing out some of that history.
You use that term with Russ around?
It's tough. I know. He's the Kaibo King. And that is why he's going to be.
Thank you.
When he's not on the motorcycle,
That's all I can say.
He'll be in the very back of the bus. So anyway, again, we reach out to you if you are familiar with some of these areas along Highway 89 and there are stops. Maybe we have some folks who actually operate, one of these museums or stops along the way, and they're listening this morning. Get onto our Facebook page at KSL Outdoors Radio, and make sure you do KSL Outdoors Radio because Adam Eagle has his KSL Outdoors show on there. But KSL Outdoors Radio, and put in your ideas for Highway 89 on Facebook, and we'll try and make some of those stops. One of the places you wanted to go, Chris, I know badly, but I don't think it's going to work out, was the Air and Space Museum, the Boneyard down there in Arizona. But they don't do their tours on the weekends, evidently.
Not on a Saturday, and we're going to be walking through at that time. But it's not that far off of 89. But it's a cool place to go if you want to see aviation history.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I didn't realize the place existed. Well, actually, I did. There was a documentary, I think, on Discovery Channel or something that showed parts of the Boneyard, but there's presidential airplane guts in there.
Yeah, when I was there last, there was some interesting planes there. I think there were 2 or 3 Air Force Ones there. And it's interesting because the weather, it's so hot and dry that nothing really rusts. It's just there. There's no moisture, and so they can put those out there. It's a great place to store them.
Do they use? I mean, is it strictly for the tour? They use them for parts? What do they do?
They actually use it for parts.
That's what I understand. But yeah, there's interesting stuff out there.
I got some seats for my old van from.
I'll bet you did.
Don't think they qualify.
And then I notice on the schedule here, and whether we actually pull this off or not, where did we get the suggestion to have dinner at Chino Bandito? How does that come about?
That came from my good friend Susan Liston. So it's a mixture of Asian and Mexican food. So it ought to be pretty good.
So is that like a sushi taco?
I know we can report on it after we've had it. So.
And then on Sunday, so that's Saturday, we actually will make the drive all the way down on Friday, which is going to be a long day.
Yes.
To get ourselves set for this adventure and have our broadcast at Kartchner Caverns. And during the news at the top of the hour, we were educating ourselves a little bit on what Kartchner Caverns is all about. Sounds like an interesting place that some guys stumbled onto and then eventually ended up selling it to the state of Arizona, right?
Mm-hmm. Discovered in 1974. They're saying they have 2.5 miles of pristine cave passages, and then sold it to the state in 1988, and the state's turned it into a state park.
The one thing that scares me a little bit is they said at least one of these public access areas is closed during the time we're there because
bats. It's a bat nursery.
It's a bat nursery. Oh, good. And so Chris then chimes in with the fact that, you can get, is it white nose disease or something?
It's white nose fever. And so this is the thing that's killing a lot of bats. Yeah, so if you've been in a cave where there is white nose fever, you can transport that to another cave, and they want to be really careful.
Especially if you haven't changed your clothes in 3 months. Is that what it is?
Yeah, well, and that's what we're worried about.
Yeah.
Chris, you are so full of information.
I know
amazing.
That's part of the reason for dragging him along. And we can then call ourselves spelunkers.
Spelunkers, indeed.
How's that? All right, so moving along then. Sunday, we get to the Grand Canyon. And those plans are still a little in flux.
They are.
But we're going to take in as much as we can of the Grand Canyon, at least from the rim. We're not going to have time to ride the burros down into the belly of the beast, but we'll look forward to sharing that. And by the way, all of these adventures have been documented in video, to a T. Some of it you wouldn't want to see, but we share it with you anyway, and that's the stuff that happens in between our stops. But Bill Francis is going to be putting this together, so we look forward to some spectacular video from these places. Breakfast at the Grand Canyon on Monday, June 2nd, and then we head in the direction of Lake Powell.
Lake Powell, yes. And I know we're doing dinner on a new restaurant that's down there.
Which just opened up, right?
Yeah, it just opened up at Wahweap on a boat. And then we're going to be doing a lake cruise as well. The time. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Floating restaurant and a lake cruise.
You can eat soup and chum at the same time.
Nice. Tuesday morning breakfast at Lake Powell, and then there's some ideas along the way here. Carmel Junction, Zion's, Big Rock Candyman. There's a place that Chris insists we stop to get a homemade pie.
A homemade pie is HOMADE pie right there at Carmel Junction.
That's right.
I understand they're the best pie in the region.
You understand that?
That's what I understand, but we're going to find out.
Yeah, and so we're going to sample a lot of food along the way.
There's a lot of questions I could ask you, but I'm not going to on the air.
That next day, Wednesday, is going to be another one of those long days because our plan is to go all the way from, and originally we were thinking we were going to go from Lake Powell all the way to Bear Lake. Holy cow. And then we started doing the math on that, and with some of the things we want to see along the way, it just logistically was not going to make it. We weren't going to make it. So we're adjusting those plans, but we're going to blast through the Wasatch Front. I know we had a plan, and it looks like we're still going to try to make a stop at Hill Air Force Base.
We are, yes. We've got a plan on Wednesday morning. We're going to swing over and see their Aerospace Museum, and there is some incredible planes there. They're going to show us some of the things, and so if you haven't been there, it's a free tour. It's a great place to see what's happening with aviation history. And they're going to speak with us a little bit about their air show that's coming up next month as well. I mean, it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. So, again, some ideas on some things to see along Highway 89. So that gets us here.
It does. And just real quick, Latitude 37 is the new floating restaurant down at Lake Powell.
All right. Perfect. So, and we're going to share all of these on our wrap-up broadcast eventually from Waterton, British Columbia, coming up on the following Saturday. We'll finish out what the itinerary is the rest of the way. And again, if you've got some suggestions of spots for us to see, some history to learn along Highway 89, all the way from Mexico to Canada, get on our Facebook page at KSL Outdoors Radio and drop your suggestion there. We'll come back and share the rest of our trip coming up.
Call KSL Outdoors and tell us about your latest hunting or fishing expedition. We're at 575-8255. KSL Outdoors on KSL News Radio 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
All right, welcome back. Sharing our ideas anyway. It's not all carved in stone yet, which is a little unnerving as we get ready for an adventure border to border, Mexico to Canada on Highway 89. Do we know where we're sleeping yet? Have we figured that out on that last day here?
In a van down by the river.
Usually in a bed or something.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Or an RV.
Maybe at the side of the road in a
because our original plan was to go all the way from Lake Powell to Bear Lake, which was a big bite.
We're going to sleep in the Bountiful area.
Yeah, most likely. It hasn't been confirmed yet, though.
All right. But always stay at the Smith compound.
The other thing Russ has not shared with everybody but me is that he plans on stopping off and getting a new set of tires on the motorcycle while we're in Salt Lake.
I might have to.
Really?
So I told him we'd meet him at the next stop somewhere.
$1 million cowboy bar. We'll meet you there.
Hey,
8:30.
I'll be waiting for you.
Russ, how about buying them ahead of time and then just putting them in the trailer?
I've thought about that too.
He wouldn't. You
What's
wouldn't
the
want.
point?
You wouldn't want him installing them.
Somewhere you got to stop and put them on.
Oh, yeah, that would be a problem.
All right, so we head then to West Yellowstone, and holy cow, if we're going to go to West, where are we going to stay, Russ?
Three Bear Lodge.
Must be Three Bear with our buddy
That's right.
Clyde Seeley, and thanks
Clyde
to
and Mike Seeley.
Thanks to Mike for helping us set that.
And
up.
now
Ranger Stan.
That's right.
Is now manning the counter at some point during the day, so we're going to make her bring us room service while we're there at Three Bear, which is always fantastic, and we're right outside the west gate of Yellowstone, which has to be one of those stops on Highway 89, right?
Has to be. Yep.
We'll actually go in through Jackson Hole and then cut through the park to get to West, and then we've got to get back into the park the next day, right?
Yes, that's right. And we're going to go past Old Faithful. We're going to see grizzly bears, oh my, and several other things along the way. But if you haven't
The
been there
Dallin
lately,
family has some stories to tell about grizzly bears.
grizzly bears and the 5-year-old. Yeah, exactly.
So we then head out the other direction, though, because we're headed to Great Falls, Montana.
Right. Well, and then we're going to go out the Roosevelt Arch. So that's originally where Yellowstone started. And the reason why they have all these resorts along the way is you were picked up by a stagecoach, and you would go 6 hours via stagecoach, and that's where you'd land. And so you go to Lake Yellowstone, you would go to Old Faithful, you go to Mammoth, and that's why they have those along the way. So there's some great history there in Yellowstone.
Chris's original idea was to do this whole Highway 89 trip on a stagecoach, which was shot down within the first 30 seconds of the conversation. Hey, here's a way we could do it.
Oh, yeah, pulled by donkeys.
And to be honest, we don't know a lot about Highway 89 stretch, and maybe there's not a lot to tell or know between Yellowstone and Great Falls, right? I mean, it's...
We're going to find out. But there might be a guy named Zeke at an old Chevron there, and we want to talk to that guy.
So if you're out there, Zeke, give us a call.
But, we joke about that. There is going to be some of that happening where we walk into a place, a museum, a shop, an old restaurant, and just put a microphone in some folks' faces and find out about the history of the area.
That's
exactly.
part of the plan.
That's part of the fun.
So that part of America, I think, is dying, and we want to preserve that along the way. And also, it's a great way to connect with your history. So we hope to do that.
Yeah.
It's not dying, it's just under-discovered.
And we'll light a fire underneath it again. And we hope that everyone will make a pilgrimage to honor the anniversary of the Highway 89 adventure.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. And then so we go from Great Falls. We'll spend the night there, and we'll make the drive just past Glacier National Park, across the border into Waterton, B.C. And a friend of ours that we met a couple of years ago, Shamir Suleiman, he and his family really have settled that area and turned it into quite a place for people to go and take in some of that beauty. What is the name of the hotel there on the mountain?
The Bay Shore Inn?
That's where we're staying.
Yes, okay.
But there's a famous hotel that you see in all the pictures.
Oh, it's like Prince Edward.
Yeah.
Something. I can't remember.
I should know it right off the top of my head, and it's escaping me at the moment. Anyway, it's one of the iconic pictures you see of Canada. That is Waterton, and we had a chance to stop and broadcast there thanks to Shamir Suleiman and his family. So we look forward to that stop to end the trip, and it's going to be a beautiful spot just to sit back and take in the beauty.
Get to broadcast once again on the patio.
Only this time they've got internet.
Yeah.
Hey, they've got internet service up there in Waterton. So that'll wrap up the week for us. And then on the way back, we plan, because I don't think Barb and Bill, you haven't either, I don't think, and Chris have not gone going to the Sun Road through Glacier, have you? It's one of those life experiences, and Russ and I have had the chance to do it a couple of times on motorcycles. So we'll do that on the way back out, and that is going to be the adventure that we share with you.
The hotel, by the way, you're talking about in Waterton is the Prince of Wales.
Prince of Wales.
Yeah, and it is Waterton Lakes National Park in Alberta, Canada.
And their nose is a little out of joint, I think, up there, because this picture of Waterton and the hotel is actually used in cooperation or in conjunction with Banff. Everybody goes to Banff looking for the hotel, and the fact is it's in Waterton. So, guys, again, thank you to our friends friends at Chevron because we're going to be stopping at Chevron to gas up all along the way.
Yes.
And the good news is there are Chevrons all along the way on Highway 89. And, if we could go border to border on ATVs and find Chevrons, we ought to be able to do it on Highway 89.
So.
I think it'll be
Greatly
easy to-
placed Chevrons, I might add.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then thanks to...
Shout out to Mike Taylor and Budget Rental Car.
Yep.
To Brent Ullenbach with Harley Davidson in Ogden and in Cache Valley in Logan.
Because we just didn't want to have to ride the bikes all the way down to Arizona and then start the trek north. So we're going to trailer the bikes down to start that way. All right?
Would have been all right. But
All right. Guys, I'm looking forward to it. And again, a shout out to our buddy Vaughn Jacobson, who just schedule-wise, again, could not make this trip with us, but he's there in spirit.
One other last shout out as well to Aramark. They've been amazing in helping us in some of the stuff down in Arizona.
we'll be wired up so you can follow along with us. Find us if you need to along 89. See when we're going to be coming by your house.
Yeah.
Throw stuff at us, whatever you want to do.
Going to be a lot of fun. Share in that fun by tuning in. We hope you do every week, but in a couple of weeks as we head out. Chris, thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Barbara,
Great to
thank
be
you.
with
Thank you.
And back behind the camera, Mr. Bill Francis and the Imagination Company. Thank you so much.